All right. So, as you can tell, I'm not here by myself today. I'm here with the amazing Caroline Moncure, who has been super busy. I just want to give an acknowledgement to Caroline during this whole pandemic time. She's been really amazing and instrumental in getting a lot of the word out to the community via social media. Caroline's the marketing manager for Morales Method. So Caroline has been doing a ton of work, been keeping her really busy with all of that. So thank you. All right. And if there's any shred of common sense in any of my social media, it's because of her.
I'll take it.
Yeah, take it. Take the compliment. All right. So the purpose of this particular Zoom is really, as you probably saw the title, um, is about adapting and thriving after reopening your practice. So a lot of us, me included, we were in hibernation, lockdown, shutdown for about uh, 6 months almost. So about 6 months, I think, right? So then we get the announcement that we're supposed to open up, and all throughout that time, I had been preparing and I had been creating all of these videos on how to prepare for reopening, all of this. Me thinking that I was ready for reopening, right? Thinking I'm going to be ready. Uh, and then yes, and we're still waiting for an announcement in Oakland. And then we get the announcement here in San Francisco. And by the way, even though we're kind of Bay Area centric, this video can apply to anywhere on the planet because of the things I'm going to talk about. Okay. All right. So then we get the announcement of that we're able to reopen in San Francisco, and many of us reopen our practice, and me included. And then I start to run, not run into in a bad sense, but I start to face certain challenges, certain issues, which are interesting. And this is kind of what I want to share with you, because these are some of the things that you're probably going to run into. You're probably going to encounter, that's a better word, when you reopen your practice. So if you haven't reopened your practice yet, I hope this helps. For those of you who have already opened your practice, maybe you'd be happy to share, any of your, if you have any similarities, or share any of your stories, right? And I'm not going to be the only one talking here. We're also going to get some insight from Caroline as well. So adapting and thriving after reopening your practice. I basically want to share some insights of what's been going on in the past couple of few weeks since reopening. And before I go into that, part of it is where I think we should start. And we should definitely start with ourselves as practitioners. And I believe we should be really patient with ourselves. Understand that you've basically been out of it for over a year, over half a year. You may not have the stamina that you had before. You might feel a little rusty. All right. And I say this because these are all the things that I started to encounter. I felt a little rusty myself. I felt I didn't have the stamina. And because of that, I made that decision to only see a certain number of clients in the beginning. So in the very beginning, I started off with 1 or maybe 2 clients a day, where in my previous pre-COVID life, I was maxing out at 5 or 6 clients a day for private practice. That, incidentally, I don't work at any spas. It's all private practice here in San Francisco. So, I was out of it for a bit, and going back in, it took me a while. So 1 or 2 clients was actually more than enough for me. I had to spend time wiping down the room, cleaning between clients, and I also had this low level or mid level, whatever level you want to call it, stress of here is now a person I have not seen for months. Maybe they were isolated, maybe not. And now they're coming into my office environment. And what is that going to be like? And, yes, I can be safe. And yes, I can take all the precautions. And incidentally, I'm taking precautions that are well above and beyond what the San Francisco Department of Public Health has directed. One of the things I did, going off on a little tangent, is check the San Francisco Department of Public Health, what their directives are. And what I have been doing is actually way more than what they have requested of us. So, there is a little bit of stress going back to my story. There's been a little bit of stress thinking about these people that I trust and I've known them for years, and yet now they're coming in. I haven't seen them, and now they're coming in, and who knows what's going to happen there, right? So be patient with yourself in that respect. At the end of the day, I remember seeing, I think probably the first time I worked, I saw one person, and yeah, I was kind of beat. I was beat right after that. After seeing a couple of people, when I saw two people a day, I had to go take a nap, and I thought to myself, this is Marty back in 2005, 2007, where I would just get wiped out working on a couple of people. So it just takes some time to build up that, whatever you want to call it, stamina, endurance, to build it back up. I equate it to if you were running or jogging and then you got injured and you had to lay off, and then starting back up, you can't hit those 6 miles just like you did a couple months ago. You got to almost start from the beginning. And so if that happens to you, and if you feel that that's happening, then please be patient with yourself. It's okay. You start to build back up. Incidentally, I have made the decision to not see as many people right now as I did in the past, and I'm maxing out at 3 people a day. So 3 people a day is the most I'll see at this point, and that's more than enough for me at this level. And I'll revisit it in 2021 and see what happens. Do you have anything to say about that?
Just interesting to hear how the message has changed. I just remember the first community meeting we had. It was this like, what 6 months really means. Stopping for 6 months really means. At first, I think we all thought it was going to be a short amount of time, and it was like, okay, when you get back, you just double down and you'll make up for it. But like that view has, you can't make up for 6 months of not working. So there's just this whole other strategy and reality of what we're dealing with now that is not what we maybe initially thought that we were dealing with. So, I mean, I think it is important to take the time to consider this, have compassion for yourself, have patience with yourself, like all of those things. It is just a different situation than I think we originally thought that it was. And it's just interesting to sort of compare and contrast where we were 6 months ago when we had this meeting, or 5.5 months ago when we had this meeting, and where we are now having this meeting. And I do have, I don't know if you have more to say, but I do have a question also for you.
I'm going to move the mic closer to you.
With that in mind, that we're now, at first we had these strategies of how financially we're going to make it up by, working harder and opening our hours up more and all these things. Is there a different financial strategy in your mind about what to do with having your business pretty much shut down for 6 months in a year? That like you only had pretty much 6 operating, maybe I guess a little bit more than 6 operating months this year, but like, what does that mean for you? And with that in mind.
Going back to this analysis, I've thought about it. I think when I go and look back at my financials, because I do that, I'm a numbers guy and I like to look back. It probably is going to look like when I'm going to look at my full 2020, it's probably going to look like I've chopped off 4 or 5 months out of my work year. So basically lost 4 or 5 months of productivity. And what was the other question?
Really, I mean, just and what does that is that that's just that you've lost 4 or 5 months and that's you're
Uh,
just gonna have to deal with that, or is
right,
there
right,
like
right, right,
something that you're doing to help?
right.
Is there any strategy around that?
Right. Yes. So thank you. And I do remember in these previous Zoom meetings, I had said things like, "Hey, once we get back up, then we're going to open back up even longer hours. We're going to uh, work more days, all of that stuff." So I had said that before in the past, and now coming into reality, I don't think I can work long hours, at least right now for the time being. But I do know what will be affecting my financials and my numbers, and that is my rate. And what I've been noticing as we were starting to start to open up, as the city was starting to open up, you know, restaurants were starting to open up and maybe some bars. I yet to go to a bar. Were starting to open up, and I noticed that their prices were all increased. So everyone was now also kind of accepting this increase in prices, right? So I think that we are going to have to do the same. We're going to have to increase our rates, and I believe that the folks that are going to stay in town, because I know that we're also dealing with a mass exodus of people leaving our the Bay Area. But for those that are going to stay in town, um, we'll probably already we'll accept this increase in rates because everything has been going up. Everything is going to inflate. So it's probably going to be expected that our rates are going to be going up as well. So this is one of the things that I've prepared for, that I've starting to initiate, um, for myself. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think anyone's really going to complain about an increase in rates. So that's it. That's where I'm at right now. Yeah, not working a whole lot more than before. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I want to mention, and if anyone has any questions, go ahead. Feel free to either send them in the chat or to unmute your mic and add those in. So I mentioned being patient with yourself, and part of adapting also means being patient with your client. And that's one thing I've learned. We've got people that a lot of people haven't had a whole lot of interaction with everyone else, and some people have been seriously isolating, and then they make this decision. Now that you're open up, they make this decision to venture off into the world. And to me, I really appreciate and am very grateful for that. I've had people that haven't seen anyone, haven't come out, have had groceries delivered, and now that I'm open, they are taking this risk, really going out into the world to come see you. And I'm thinking, wow, that's really amazing. And yes, there's a certain level of nervousness around that with them. So not everyone, but I've seen some people that are like that. So my job not only is to do what I used to do before, but now also understand this level of anxiousness, anxiety, or stress that they may have coming to see you, and understand that and be able to adapt to that. Um, so that's one thing. Our thinking and our perception of what may be going on, and who knows what, whatever things we decide to believe in or have witnessed throughout these last 6-7 months can be different from what your client has experienced. Okay. Your client may have seen, or may have experienced people passing away, may have experienced people getting sick, uh, whereas you may not have, right? Or maybe you have and they haven't, right? So either way, we need to be patient with their perception, their experience, and how that may be different from ours, right? Sometimes it helps to share stories, and sometimes I have shared stories of my experience from the last 6 7 months, and sometimes I haven't. And to me, it's just a matter of how to be able to read the situation and respond accordingly. The other thing is, so that's kind of a kind of soft thing, right? As I see it. The other thing may be physically. They have not had touch or your level of touch and body work in many, many, many months. And now you or they or both of you believe that you can just pick up where you left off, get on the table, and off you go. And you'll soon realize it's not the case. People that I have known for 10, 12 years, worked on for, a dozen years, get on the table and they are not able to take the touch that they were previously used to. It may feel too intense or may feel like it's too much for them. And I think it's another one of these things where they have to kind of build it back up. And you kind of, to steal the term of my elder teachers, you have to meet them where they are, right? So that has been a big kind of returning to basics for me when I deal with my and work with my clients. Will they go back to where they were before? Who knows? But at this point, I'm just meeting them where they are. Um, the other thing is, if we kind of blend these two, a lot of folks are also kind of, and I know some of you can probably speak to this better than I can, but a lot of them may be kind of manifesting some level of trauma in their bodies from the past 6 or 7 months. And that's another thing that we need to be aware of. I am not fully into the somato emotional world, even though I teach at the Polarity Institute in Zurich, and they have a full SER program there. I am not SER trained, but I am seeing that there is a big potential for this type of body work to benefit our clients at this time. I also believe that there is potential for other types of modalities aside from structural integration that could really benefit clients at this time. Um, and they may be closely related to SI, structural integration, but I'm thinking right now movement education, move in mind specifically. Monica Canducci's modality that is part of Morales method. I'm thinking that may be something that could benefit our clients at this time. And I know you wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, uh, for a lot of reasons, I think investing in all types of body work, but body work that really are focusing it on getting people grounded. I mean, I think that's the thing that most people are struggling with is that especially as you're starting to venture out into the world, it ungrounds you because it's not something we're familiar with.
Mm,
We're not used to being around a lot of people, especially when you consider the people who, like, I have family members that have pre-existing conditions that really have chosen one person that they hang out with, and that's about all they've seen for like about 6 months now. And so then when you imagine walking out the front door and then getting in a car and driving around and encountering all these people, how ungrounded that makes you. First of all, how much
yeah,
you must mean to them for them to come see you
yeah,
to make that effort, and then be like reading or how to some sort of some assistance in managing that. We're like looking a little bit beyond the physical of what we're doing. Of course, the physical is still there. We're still working on the muscles. We're still working on the tissue, but there is that other aspect that some people tune into more than others in our body work that I think is really important. I think movement education is a really great way to do that because it's a great thing that they can bring home and do for themselves. So if you can help them do movements that get them back into their body or practices, whatever they are, to be able to use those at home, that's really important. I also think considering Move in Mind in particular, I think is a great one, and I know I keep mentioning that, but it's the one that I'm most familiar with for movement education. Is important because I think it also prepares us for times when this may happen again, where we may have to do the isolation a little bit more again, and it's something where you can still stay in touch with them and do it once you've practiced a little bit in person. In particular, once you get to that point where maybe we're doing it in this format, you can really help them get the work that they may need. They may not have to have that six or their, that pause that they had before and the treatment that they're receiving. You can do things like this over the computer, or don't have to actually have a physical touch incorporated. So that's something that I've been considering looking into a little more deeply and paying attention to more, just so that I can be more adaptable for if this does happen again. If we do have to do something like this again, I'm not going to get caught off guard this time. I want to be a little bit more prepared.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. This is this is a topic of conversation that has come up. What if we go through another lockdown? What's that going to look like? What are we going to do about that? Right. And honestly, to be perfectly honest with you, it's something that I have kind of moved off to the side. I think it's important to prepare. And I think right now I'm just kind of really focused on reopening and doing what I can to bring my business back, that I have not thought about what's going to happen if we lock down again. And maybe I should probably spend some time thinking about that after the Zoom meeting, I guess. So we talked a little bit about adaptation and adapting, and some of the things that I've encountered and some of the things that you might encounter or have encountered as you reopen your practice. And I also want to talk now about thriving. And, let's say we don't reopen. Let's say we don't shut down. We are reopening. Let's say we don't shut down and we're, full steam ahead. What's it going to look like? Well, I believe, based on what I've seen in this short amount of time of reopening here in San Francisco, I believe that, and also what's happened in all of these 6 months of being shut down, I believe that those body workers who go back and reopen their practice are going to be very busy, and there is potential to have a successful practice, probably, hopefully, even more successful than before if we do things right. Okay, so this is what I've noticed. I've noticed that there has been a big shortage in body workers in the city. In March and April, during the month of March and April, we saw a lot of body workers just leave town, close their businesses and leave town. And I've heard it now as we've started to be open. I've been getting calls, emails, texts, messages through Yelp of people saying, my body worker left town, I'm looking for someone, are you available? All of this stuff. So I believe that I'm not the only one getting these calls. I believe that those that are already open are going to be very busy, or if not, they already are busy. I have not checked in with other people yet to see how they're doing. I will probably eventually check in with other clinics and sports medicine clinics and see how they're doing. But I believe that we're going to be busy. Now, you might think that, well, if that's what's going to happen, then I just need to kind of sit back and let it all happen. I'm just going to be busy just because I'm the last man standing, so to speak. And that, I don't think, is the case. I think it's still going to require work on our part to regain the success in our practice. But I believe that all the ingredients are there for a successful practice. If not in the last quarter of the year, but next year. Um, and what I've been doing, I've been telling. Let me just kind of share with you one of the things that I have done, and this by no means is a directive to you. You don't have to do it this way. I'm just telling you what I'm doing, hopefully that'll give you some insight. So one of the things that I decided to do is because of the fact, like Caroline said, that people are trusting me and they're coming in to see me because they trust me and they want to come back and see me. One of the things I've done is involved my client in the success of the practice. Okay, and what that means is I have let them know that I tell them about the limitation to the number of clients I see a day. I've already mentioned to them my protocol for how my office is going to look, and I've also made a decision. And again, this is not something you have to do, but this is something I've decided to do. And I've decided to not take in any new clients that are coming in off the street, so to speak. Okay. So, kind of, let's call it a cold client, right? And I've told my clients this. So, let's say, for example, Caroline is a regular client of mine, an existing client. I've told her I'm not seeing anyone new off the street. However, if she has anyone that she wants to refer to me, I will see that person. So that kind of builds in a level of trust both ways, right? Because I know that the person that she's referring to me, they probably know them to some level. They probably know this person, what they've went through in the past 6 7 months. So hopefully they're not sending someone to me that's you know COVID positive, sneezing and breathing on me all over the place, right? And they know, like Caroline would know as my client, that I'm not taking any, random folk off the street, right? So they know that the network is still, there is some structure to the network, all right? Even with that situation, the amount of people that have wanted to come in and see me has grown by a factor. And now I'm having to deal with, remember what I said about my schedule, I'm having to deal with only being able to see 3 people a day, right? So with all of those kind of factors in place, I was I was pretty much booked since I started reopening, right? Um, that's what I wanted to share with you. Things like this involving your client in the success in your growth um, is, how do I say this? It really sinks in with your client, right? And I've mentioned this at least once in my client newsletters. And you might think, because I thought this too, you might think, 20% of my clients probably read my newsletter, right? Well, I'll tell you, every regular client that comes in, once we have this conversation or referral, they'll say, yeah, I read that. And I thought, you read that, you know, that means they wanted us, they want to know what's happening, right? And understandably so, for their sake, for their safety's sake. They have people at home, that they have to look out for, and I understand that. So this is what's happening. And what I've seen happen is um, people will bring in their partner, so someone they trust. They'll bring in their partner, and doctors. I'll mention doctors. I'll go back to doctors in a little bit. Um, Doctors have referred some of their clients to me, so uh, um, that's the way that the network has been growing. Okay. So that's what I wanted to share with you. This, to me, I believe, will allow me to thrive in 2021. Um, and this is probably with seeing a fraction of my regular clients right now, right? I haven't, not all my regular clients are coming back in, and I don't put any pressure on them to come back in, right? I've mentioned to them, whenever they're ready, I'm ready. So some of them will probably wait. I think some of them will probably wait until there's a vaccine, uh, and to come back in to see me, or to come back out into the world. And I respect that. I understand that, and let's move forward. Um, so wanted to share that with you. If you have any insights on that, feel free to share before I share my other stuff.
No, but it's definitely just one of those things to consider that you may not have considered. Like they're just that is the reality of reopening right now, is sort of getting in there and then all of a sudden getting that Yelp whatever forward from somebody or a schedule, and you're like, who are you on my schedule, and then it's
Right.
like, wait, this is a before it was like, oh great, a new client, and now it's like, oh great, a complete unknown.
Yeah.
I know nothing
Yeah.
about this person.
Right.
So then yeah, considering what that is, but at the same time having to balance that, like, we provide a service that everybody needs regardless of whether they have a connect to a massage therapist or not, so it's just a difficult time, and you have to take measure all of your risks that you're taking. So I guess another consideration for a source would be other massage therapists. So other massage therapists that happen to be leaving, like that is, I've heard of people getting referrals of like, oh, this person left and they sent me a
Yeah.
handful of their clients, or whatever that is, and just as a another potential source, when we're having a little bit more limited sources for new um, energy in your space, new people in your space.
Right. Right. Yeah. And and dealing with new clients has its own, like you said, its own kind of level of energy, and uh, um, level of energy used up by you, right? Having to deal with a new client, understanding their system, seeing how the work may work with them, and or not possibly, and how we need to adapt to that. So that's another topic of another conversation. However, I do want to mention that if you have new clients, possibly don't fill your day up with all new clients. That takes a lot. That's a lot of that's to me, it's a little draining, to all of that. And like you said, just to reiterate, yes, we are seeing an exodus of a lot of body workers in this space. It reminds me of 2008, 2009, the global financial crisis. I went through that here in San Francisco. Same thing. Um, uh, I think it hit certain populations harder than others back then. It seems to be hitting almost everyone to some level now. But that happened back then, and people were referring some of their clients out to me or other body workers, as those body workers were leaving town. So I appreciate that, and there are many ways to respond to that. Some people did some level of revenue share for a certain period of time, to help that exiting body worker. Some people did something else, certain flat fee or anything like that. If that's something that you're comfortable with, great. If that's not something you're comfortable with, that's okay, right? So, whatever arrangement you can make with that body worker, just make sure you're both happy with that. But that's really the big thing that I wanted to share with you is getting your client kind of involved in their kind of returning to the world, and in your growth as a body worker. And really, when you kind of boil all of that down, it's really about you expressing, communicating to your client what you want for them, all the goals you want for them, and also letting them know what is it that you want for yourself as a body worker, as a business person, as a practitioner. And if you can communicate with them effectively, then I think it sets up a road to success. And that's the big thing. Oh, you know, so this piece that I'm mentioning, it really goes back to the basic kind of marketing 101 that we've heard all our lives as massage therapists or body workers. It really just pulls out the basic all over again, which is word of mouth. Word of mouth, we're just kind of reconfiguring it here, but it's really just word of mouth. And word of mouth, we know, is hugely powerful, hugely effective. Um, and if done right, it it can just grow your practice exponentially. All right. I'll tell you my personal opinion. You can do what you want, but my personal opinion, you don't need to pay this, that, or the other thing for online advertising. Once you go back and open, and some people have thought this, like, oh, maybe I now need to advertise to bring people into my practice. I don't believe you do. If you had a set of clients before, these people are your agents. These are your magic, right? Word of mouth is hugely powerful. Um, you know, uh, Trust me on this. Try it and see how it goes. Last thing I want to see is you blowing hundreds of dollars in online advertising that who knows what is going to happen there. Whereas you've got already a pool of clients that can be your agents that can find clients that are a best fit for you. All right. Anyway, do you have anything to add on
No,
that?
not to that, but you said you were going to go back to a doctor piece, something about doctors.
Thank you so much for bringing this up. So um, I I have started to see a pool of doctors um, in in my practice, and just want to bring this up with you guys. Our frontline workers, doctors and nurses, our frontline workers, doctors and nurses, have really gone through a lot. There is a level of trauma and uh, for lack of a better term, PTSD that they have gone through that we haven't even begun to really uncover and deal with. But it is there. It's happening. It shows up on the table. It spills out over the table when you're working on them. Okay, so I just want you guys to know, these are folk that are going through a lot and have gone through a lot, and it'll probably take a while for them to deal with what they saw, what they dealt with. So just keep this in mind as you start to see folks on that were on the front line or are on the front line. As you start to see them coming into your practice, whether does that mean that you need additional training? Does that mean you need to go off and train in this, that, the other thing? I don't know. And like I said, I am not SER trained. I'm not trained in somato emotional release, but I can turn on my listening part of Marty and just sit there and listen to them and not give advice. Maybe I'll share a story from my life, but just listen to them. Just see, this is what I do. Just listen to them and let them just kind of get it out, right? Um, Incidentally, I actually have allowed more time between clients now. So I used to allow half an hour between clients. Now I'm allowing an hour between clients. And believe it or not, uh, uh, for the first, I say like the first week, those first 15 minutes was the person just like, just saying everything that they needed to say. And doctors as well and what they're dealing with. So prepare yourself for that. And like I said, whether it means you need additional training, great. Whether that also means you need to take care of yourself more, ground yourself, eat well, sleep well, all of that. Don't stay up late watching, whatever show. I know it's super interesting and you can't tear yourself away from 90 Day Fiance or whatever it is, turn that off. Try to quiet your mind a bit, because you're gonna be in high demand pretty soon. Any questions, you guys? Anyone have any questions for us, Caroline or myself?
Hey, Marty.
Hey, how are you?
You may not remember me. I took a class with you many years ago, but I've been following your work, and I do use some of the techniques you taught me, so I
Great.
appreciate it. I'm glad you mentioned the like the frontline workers, and I've thought a lot about how I can support them. Just even like reaching out. I actually live in rural West Marin, so I don't live in the city. Um, I'm curious, do they also carry a certain amount of stigma? I mean, they are the ones that are on the front line, so their risk of exposure is higher. I'm curious, are they carrying a certain amount of sort of
Mhm.
self-consciousness or stigma around it? I don't know if there is, and if you've encountered that, how have you managed that? Because I'm wondering if they're not reaching out for these services to, if they're not going, to get, looking for a massage therapist because they're afraid, oh, I'm exposed, I've got this higher level of risk. I can't go do that right now.
Right, right. Well, from what I've heard, and so this is my limited experience dealing with about half a dozen people in that world. Um, from what I've heard, they get tested very often. So, I almost kind of, how do I say this? I almost like am a little more comfortable with those that are getting tested more often compared to those that are taking a little more cavalier approach to it. Like, oh, it's fine, not a problem, And I'm thinking, really, it's fine? Okay. I spent 15 minutes wiping this place down. I want to show you what I did, So, but those, and I saw your comment there, Alicia. But those that have come in, the nurses and doctors that have come in have told me I've gotten tested. I'm okay and all of that. And I'm, if they're okay, I'm okay, and I have heard stories. Alicia mentioned, some frontline workers that have been refused housing because of their profession. And I have heard of that. And that's terrible. But I almost kind of have a higher level of comfort working with them because
Yeah.
yeah, they seem to, it's necessary for them to take so many more precautions.
And so far, they've found you, right? They've come to you, or somebody's referred them to you, or have you put it out there in some way, let people know, hey, I'm working with first responders, or I have,
No.
you know,
Yeah, no, I haven't put.
okay.
Yeah, I haven't put it out there that I'm working with first responders. I already had a small pool of doctors and nurses that I saw pre-COVID, and they have said, "Hey, I know someone who could use some work. Can I refer them to you?" And I say to them, as long as you think it'd be a good fit, go for it. If you think if you know them, and if you, I trust you, is what I've told them. I trust you, so feel free to refer who you trust. So there's a lot of trust going around right now.
Yeah, a lot more so. I'm
Yeah.
mainly thinking, I don't have a studio space anymore, and so I'm just going to people's homes, which is another level of trust. I become kind of the primary vector for potential exposure. So
Yeah.
I'm very closely monitoring my own health and wellness.
Right. Right.
Although I don't really feel like I have access to getting tested regularly. I don't know if I need to or not.
I would, my 2 cents on that would be that if you're going to people's homes, yes, you can potentially become the vector, become the kind of the bumblebee going from flower to flower, right?
Right.
So it may be necessary for you to get tested maybe twice a month or something like that, whatever it is. I don't know. In San Francisco, I think there's once a week is our limit or something like that.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm not sure. So
Yeah.
I would say find out, Marin County Department of Public Health, find out what it is that they can provide as
Yeah.
far as testing. Now in San Francisco, there is a organization called, I think it's Color or Colors, and they provide free COVID testing. Now, I don't know if it's just for SF residents or if anyone can go in and do the testing. But
Okay.
I'll tell you, the last time I was there, you're waiting 5 minutes at the most.
Mm.
And Alicia just mentioned there's free testing in Alameda County. So uh,
Yeah.
the same here. You can wait for like 5 minutes. You have to go out into the piers, Pier 30, I believe it's that you have to go out to, and even at their peak of activity, it's not that busy right now.
Yeah.
And the turnaround time is, I've seen it as quick as 24 hours. So you'll find out as quickly as the next day,
Mhm.
what your test results are. At the most, it could be 3 days, something like that.
Yeah.
So I would say kind of look into it, see if you can come into San Francisco or Alameda County and get tested there. You said you're in rural Marin. I don't know how far out you'd be.
I think I can probably get testing. So far, I've been mostly doing only outdoor massage, which
Hmm.
seems a lot safer, and people are enjoying it.
Right.
But now recently, Marin has opened for indoor, and I am starting to get requests for in home.
Sure.
So now, yes, it becomes more of a consideration for me. I should be testing regularly. Probably
Yeah.
reassuring for me and my family anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah. And if it's something you're comfortable sharing with your clients, either as in a newsletter or what have you, I think that would probably be something that would be appreciated by some of your clients. If you let them know, hey, I just recently got tested and everything's fine. This is something I'll mention with some of my clients, and I'll say, hey, just so you know, I got tested and blah blah blah. And we all love to share our stories of how we all got sick in January and February, and we're thinking, was that it, right? We can do that, but sharing our test results and test stories, I think, would be helpful for some, and probably be reassuring for some of our clients.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
yeah. Good to
For
see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah,
I appreciate you hosting these gatherings. 'Cause-
absolutely. And like I said, we'll put this up on YouTube, and my hope is that it spreads, and actually we get views on these. So I'm hoping it's helping people. So any other questions, you guys, or any final thoughts? No.
No, I
No.
mean,
Okay.
my mind is racing on figuring out how to help people do something like a chair massage event, or I mean, I don't even know how we do things like that anymore. But for
Yeah, I don't
frontline
know.
workers, or I'm even just maybe doing for people who have social media presence or their newsletter running, like maybe promoting that or saying that that's something doing, even like some sort of promotion for that. It does seem like that's something that we all are, no matter whether you're a massage therapist or who you are, like that they deserve that sort of recognition
Hmm.
or help at this point after
Yeah.
being such an insane service to us for months and a really traumatic time.
Yeah.
How do we return that? But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There's, not to like beat this horse again, but uh, uh, what I've seen, some of them are coming in with like some level of like shell shock. That's how I can describe it. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is happening. This happened to them. So um,
Yeah, I yes, they definitely have PTSD, and families who've lost loved ones also are very much
Yeah.
in that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I haven't even begun to go to dive into that realm of grief and loss. That hasn't come up yet. I'm assuming that will, at some point, people will come out and attempt to you know deal with it in so many ways, including body work.
Yeah.
So that could be a whole topic for another piece. And I'll tell you one thing though, incidentally, I have a client who is taking grief workshops, even though they haven't lost anyone. But being in that space and in the online space for them has absolutely helped them. And I'm sharing this with you because she said it has really helped her, and she was going to send the information to me. So I'll share that with you guys, if you want, put it up on the YouTubes. Um,
Yeah, I
so
participated in a full moon grief ritual the
uh,
last full moon, and that also, and it was, obviously some people had lost family members or close, but even just grieving the loss of contact, the loss of uh, income, the loss of,
yeah,
right, all of these things that we're experiencing right now. It was incredibly powerful.
wow.
and helpful. So even making some of those resources available to our clients
Hmm.
make a long way.
Yeah, yeah. People are going to try to seek some type of reassurance and reconnection so many different ways, and if we can steer them in positive ways like that, I think that'd be great. You know, so I know we only have a couple minutes left, but before we were a hub for, lack of a better term, wellness for our clients. More so now, they're going to reach out. They're going to reach out in different ways, directly, indirectly, and part of our job will be this, to kind of send them into different directions, refer them if they need to, or even refer them to a different service under our menu if necessary. You know, I know me. I can probably be seen as kind of a one-trick pony, so I do a lot of referring out and sending people to different avenues so that they can get the help they need. But thank you for that. That's going to be. I'm going to put that in my mental Rolodex. I think that's cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And same goes with everyone else. If you have any questions for me, you can contact me, Marty at moralesmethod.com, or you can contact Caroline at moralesmethod.com. Thanks again for joining. And again, we're going to put this out onto the YouTubes. And if you know anyone who might benefit from this video, feel free to send them the link. And again, thank you for your insight. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for coming over and participating. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll all see each other in person someday. Alrighty, stay safe, be well, take care of yourselves. All right. Bye.